Hello everybody and welcome to another one of our leadership training videos. In these training videos, what I've been doing is helping you to understand some of the leadership skills, leadership traits, leadership qualities that are required to become a better leader, a stronger performer. Maybe you just want to know how to become a leader. So I'm giving you a few of the ideas based on my own personal experience, which has been successful over the past years. The subject we're going to talk about today is an important one, especially in this day of competitive environment that we live in. Whatever section, area, type of business, there's a constant, permanent competition, and it trickles down into the business. It's also because I want to talk about this topic in the context of what's been happening over the past few weeks in the area of sports, or football, or soccer, to be precise. Because there are derivatives that we can learn from in terms of how we lead. And the topic is leading stars, or leading your star performers, if you like. My name is Igwe. I have over 35 years experience of leading, growing and developing teams across the 5 major markets I've lived in, across Europe, but also within Europe, Middle East and Africa, where I've had other teams as well. So my key skill is to help grow teams over time. If you're familiar with these videos, then please feel free to like, comment and share, and of course subscribe to the channel so you know when other videos are becoming available. So, leading stars or leading star performers, which I've had at different stages in my career. Let's take the football. It's not just an analogy, it's reality. So in the past few weeks, whether you follow football or not doesn't really matter, it's the context of what I want to share. So FC Barcelona eventually let go of their player, Lionel Messi, one of the best players of all time and probably the best player on the planet today. And Messi became available and has gone to Paris Saint-Germain, PSG, which is a great French team as well. Now, in arriving in PSG, and the reason why this is important is his achievements are just stratospheric. Nobody else has reached those levels. So he's just on a plane beyond imaginable. But he's still part of a football team that has to work together. So he's joining a team that already has Neymar in it, the Brazilian star, Kylian Mbappé, who is the French youngster, 22 years old, but a great star as well, a rising star. And in the back, there is a guy called Sergio Ramos, who used to be at Real Madrid, and he is now one of the key defenders. All these guys are the top players in the world. So you can imagine that the manager, Pochettino, has a job on his hands to bring these all together. And if you imagine the elements I want to describe to you and unravel, it'll help you see. I can't tell him, I'm not going to tell him, I wouldn't dare to tell him, but I'm saying what happens in business when I've encountered people who are basically top performers, leading stars and top performers in the section, department or business that they're in. So let's break it down for us in terms of business. The areas that you might consider a star performer to be in, which is financially in the first level. So it may be somebody who generates significant revenue either individually, so it could be a salesperson, but it could also be a commission-based achievement or business or new business coming in, or it could be the group, it could be the entire team. So there's a revenue element. Maybe the team itself, based on its size, it could be a big size, or based on the responsibility that you've given them or the company's given them, that they see themselves as the star team or the A team. It may be that they have a key strategy, maybe a new strategy or an existing one that you have tasked them or the company has tasked them to do, and they're leading that, so they see themselves as being very important. Or it could simply be, equally importantly, a business unit, a particular unit that is either going after new business or consolidation of existing business, or maybe one of the most profitable business units that's there. These are all elements of what star performance could be looking at. And I just want to remind us of a quote that Steve Jobs made, which I think helps us. He said, "You don't hire smart people to tell them what to do. You hire smart people so they tell you what to do." Now, obviously he was in the tech industry, but very much about marketing and delivery as well, and communication. But I think it allows us to think about it and say, okay, if you've got these star performers who drive significant revenue, leading maybe a big team or a big revenue, as the leader, is it up to me to tell them what to do? or should I invite them to tell me what to do? Of course, working it out together, but you're leveraging their core skill, and you want to make sure that you do that so you don't diminish their role and responsibility. So what is your role? Because as leader, you have a very important role within the whole context to make this successful with your star performers. You need to lay down rules, make sure everybody, whether they're the best or the not so good and developing, understand what the rules and requirements are that you set out. You have discipline. So just because they're star performers doesn't mean, for example, that they can come in at 9:05 in the morning as opposed to 9 o'clock in the morning when everybody else should, or 7:30 if that's your requirement. They should come in then later because they're star performers. No, discipline is the same for everyone. You need to be crystal clear with what the objectives are, your message that you want them to achieve. What is it that you are all looking forward to? Where is the horizon taking you? Make sure they know that. Remind them that there is only one boss and you are the boss. And going back to the football analogy, Sir Alex Ferguson, who was the manager of Manchester United for some 25, 27 years, an amazing manager, everybody knew that Sir Alex was the boss. He was the boss. No matter whether you were a top performer or not, you had to be pretty good to be in Manchester United anyway. But there were some real stars, and he managed those stars over the years, enabled them to know, you know what, it's my decision. And he had a specific tactic and strategy, which has been recounted many times, about how people were reminded that he is the boss. You need them to know that they are there to serve the company, not their own individual gains and objectives, but the company and the business, which obviously comes back to being crystal clear. At the same time, you as the boss need to build relationships with these star performers. Sometimes they don't want to be handled, managed, coerced, directed, whatever, but you have to make sure that they understand that you are there to accompany them on that journey. But equally importantly, and I think this is really important, set the bar high. There is a phrase in the Bible that says, "To whom much is given, much is expected." So with all this amazing talent that these individuals have, these abilities to generate great revenues, enrich the company, enrich the department, enrich the business, bring in new business, whatever it happens to be, you set the bar high and make it higher. You want them to perform at their very best levels because they want it. They want to push themselves, and you must encourage that. Flip side, there are sanctions. Anybody who steps outside the rules, the discipline, the whatever, you remind them and you impose sanctions where necessary, which comes back to the I'm the boss bit as well. You need to be tough. This is not something that necessarily comes easily to everybody. People have different leadership styles, different management styles, but you need to be absolutely intransigent on things because otherwise you will get walked over. There needs to be mutual respect all the way down the line. So between you and them, between them and the rest of the team, that is so important. So those are some of your roles as I see it to ensure success. And so how do you go about doing this? Well, on the one hand, the first one I've addressed in quite some detail in another video, which I invite you to take a look at, but you need to build empathy, especially with stars today. And you probably noticed that, again, using the sports analogy, they're younger and younger, whether it's in tennis, whether it's in Formula One motor racing, whether it's in rugby, whether it's in soccer, whether it's in football, whatever it happens to be, these individuals are younger and younger. And by that I mean late teens, early 20s. They haven't got the maturity level that you might think. And therefore, not to mention overlaying of the sponsors and the levels of expectation and performance. And if things don't work out, they get teased or hammered. You need to, coming back to the business environment, empathy. What's going on at home? What are the issues, the challenges? Maybe the children, maybe they haven't performed the way they wanted to. Understand what that is, get a conversation going. But always make sure that the clarity is there, that the objective is understood all the way through. Create mutual respect between your star performers and yourself. So don't allow them to bring in arrogance. If you do, you've got to tone it down and say, hey guys, what's going on here? This is not the way I expect you to perform. Create a mutual respect between both of you and between them and the rest of the team, by the way. And then stand firm. It's always so easy to not stand firm and to say, okay, well, we'll change this a little bit in this way or that way, just because it's you. Those are some of the elements that I wanted to share with you. And I'm going to conclude with a very quick story, because this has been my journey for, like I say, 35 years or so. And I've worked in different businesses and different areas of the industry where I've come across star performers and had to deal with them. Sometimes with the ultimate sanction, but in most cases with the empathy. But I was working on a particular project, which was in the UK, and it was on a construction site. And I was the construction manager, so reporting into the client. Late 20s, and there were four guys. So you can imagine the intensity of some of the meetings which we had every week. So we had the architect, one of the top architects in the world, one of the top structural engineers in the world, one of the top subcontractors in the world, and my own company, myself. So the four of us, we were basically needing to lead this project to success. But we were all stars in our own minds, but also in the minds of our companies. And we expected to achieve a lot. Now, they didn't report to me in terms of the hierarchy of the business. Like I say, we each had our own businesses. But I used exactly the same to ensure that when we had those friction moments, it was like, okay, what's going on? Why do you need this? What's your problem? Why are you insisting on that? Let's work it out. Let's find a way. Because any decision that was outside of the remit that we already had could cost in terms of delays, or it could cost the client money, or in terms of reputation. So there were things that had to be managed, and that was my role to ensure that that happened. We worked through it in many of these different ways. Once in a while, I'd set the bar a bit higher because I expected more out of the subcontractor, for example, in terms of what their team was doing, or maybe the architect to understand that that wasn't the way in which things had to be approached. The project was amazing, fantastic. We had a brilliant time. But we were all stars in our own mind. And I use that not just to say there's a leadership aspect, but to say that if you are one of those already today, you should flip the coin or the other side and say to yourself, okay, I understand some of the things that I need to consider because I'm a star, I'm a top performer, I'm incredibly good at what I do. But I need to also make sure that I understand that I'm playing within the team, within the department, and that my boss has the final word. So I hope this has helped and enlightened you on certain thoughts. If it has, then please feel free to like, comment, and share, and of course, subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to speaking to you again very shortly. Thank you.